Hi, my name's Allen Cannady-Kelderman, and I have the distinction of being a founding member of St. John's Metropolitan Community Church 45 years ago. And I'm the only founding member who is still active in the church. The church was started on the last Sunday of February in 1976 by Reverend Willie White and Robert Pace. Now, the last Sunday of February in 1976 was a fifth Sunday, which is unusual. There aren't usually 5 Sundays in February, but this was a fifth Sunday, and the next time we had a fifth Sunday in February was in 2004. And the next one you're going to see is in 2032. So it's kind of an auspicious date. Willie and Robert had put out flyers at local clubs inviting people to a gay Bible study in the Triangle. I was looking for additional worship activities besides what I was getting in Chapel Hill at a church I was attending there. And so I decided to check this out. I didn't make it that first Sunday. It was just Willie and Robert. But the next Sunday I did, and the three of us got acquainted and continued to meet every Sunday. And eventually, of course, more people started joining us. We were meeting in their apartment, which was the top floor of a house on Morgan Street in Raleigh, right across from the Irregardless Cafe. We continued to meet there, but as the number of people participating grew, we started looking around for another place to meet. We met at the Friends Meeting House a couple of times until the person who thought they had the authority to let us meet there found out they didn't. And we met at the Presbyterian Student Center on Hillsborough Street for a little while until the congregation that owned that facility decided we shouldn't meet there, and we were asked to leave. It was actually a little more than a year after our inception that Willie and Robert approached the Community United Church of Christ on Dixie Trail and Wade Avenue about meeting there. They did not take it lightly. They took it very seriously and actually put the vote of whether to let us meet there as another church to the congregation, and the congregation voted in our favor. That was really important. We didn't have to worry that we were going to be asked to leave like before. And we found out later that at that time they were in pastoral search and actually had reached out to a candidate. That candidate said that part of the reason she accepted that call was because she found out that this congregation that she was thinking about leading wanted to let a gay group, a gay Christian group, use their facility, and that greatly influenced her. So beginning in April of 1977, we began meeting at the Community United Church of Christ, and that relationship lasted for 15 or 16 years until we finally bought our facility on Glenwood Avenue. When we left, we had a really wonderful combination church service. I should say a church service with combined congregations, and they presented us with the cross that you see hanging in front of the sanctuary at St. John's MCC, and it's an exact replica of the cross that hangs in their church. That meant so much to us. Our decision to affiliate with Metropolitan Community Church came early in our development. I believe we made the application to the UFMCC in April of 1976. And MCC wasn't something I was familiar with. I didn't know a lot about the denomination. But in July, on July the 4th of 1976, which, if you're old enough to remember, was the big bicentennial, and it was quite a celebration in Washington, D.C. So I went up to D.C. for the weekend, see the fireworks mostly, and while I was up there, I visited MCC D.C. In that service, I personally felt such a moving of the Holy Spirit inside me. I came back to Willie and Robert later and told them I really feel like we made the right decision. I had just such a wonderful worship experience and proceeded to have many more here. I would learn later that maybe January of '76, Willie and Robert had actually made a day trip to Washington, D.C. to attend the MCC there. And that put MCC in the background, maybe in the back of their minds, perhaps. I don't know. But Willie had finished his studies at Southeastern Seminary in Wake Forest at the end of '75, and he and Robert moved to Raleigh because Willie had gotten a position with the Carolinian, and that's when they moved to Morgan Street. When we decided to choose a name for St. John's, we threw around names like Triangle MCC, MCC Raleigh. The problem was we, at that point, already had people coming from different parts of the state, especially down east, because there was an MCC in Greensboro not too long after that. So when we chose our name, Willie was reminded of a Bible study that a Bible class that he had taken just before he finished his studies at Southeastern Seminary, and it was on the book of John. And we decided to make it a more neutral name, and that's how we became St. John's Metropolitan Community Church. We have had 6 pastors at St. John's. Our founding pastor, Reverend Willie White, of course, when he and Robert made the decision to move to New York and start another MCC in Rochester, he prepared the board, set us up to take over until we could find another pastor, and that pastor was the Reverend June Norris. June had the distinction of being the first heterosexual female pastor in UFMCC. She was our pastor until 1988. Our next pastor would be the Reverend Wayne Lindsay, who we refer to as our homegrown pastor because he was a member at St. John's since, I think, '78 or so, and kind of grew into the position, got his credentialing, and became our pastor in 1988. And he served for 11 years. After Wayne, we selected Reverend Brendan Boone to be our 4th pastor. And Brendan was with us until 2015 when he moved to Florida with his wife for his wife's business. David Smith, Reverend David Smith, was our intentional interim, meaning he was filling the position without actually running to be the replacement. So David was our intentional interim, and eventually we had our second homegrown pastor, which is Vance Haywood. Vance was a very active member, of course, and he is getting his credentialing as well, and he is our current pastor. So, in conclusion, I just want to say I've been blessed for 45 years to be a part of this fellowship. I'm reminded of something that happened many years ago that was a conflict in the church. The church was split, and everybody couldn't have their way, and the side I was on did not prevail. But I was still at St. John's because I had made a commitment to run the soundboard and record the services, and I felt like I needed to maintain that. So I was still coming to church, but I was angry. I was not speaking to anyone. I would just go in, do my thing, and leave again. I might not even speak to anyone. But one Sunday, the service was over. To me, it was an unremarkable service. It wasn't like we used to have before the split. And I was wrapping things up, and somebody was there for the first time, and they came up to me, probably to get a cassette recording of the service, and they were in tears. They had just had the most amazing experience of their life, finding this fellowship and being able to worship, and they got such a blessing from it. And it kind of made me realize it wasn't about me. It wasn't about, what was going on in the politics of the church or whatever you want to call it. God was still working through this fellowship. And I had to realize it and, get behind it. And I think that was the beginning of a big healing for me as we got over that particular hump. God is always working at St. John's.